painting has been kind of a crazy experience and experiment for me. And in fact, in a lot of ways, I feel like it's starting to change me way more than I ever expected. And I knew that painting Christ was going to be an experience in and of itself. I knew it was going to be really powerful for me. But it's turned out to be one of the greatest things I've done as an artist. And I'll tell you guys everything. I'll tell you guys exactly why, the experiences have happened to me in the process. And of course, this is going to be a couple of parts of a video. So this is just part one, and I'll be showing you guys everything step by step. I'm not going to skimp out on anything. I want you guys to know and learn and to be edified as you watch me. And hopefully I can convey this message properly. So I just pray that this will get to you in the best way possible. My name is Gabe the Painter, and I started this painting not too long ago of Jesus Christ with the goal to make a totally just a semi-accurate portrait using all the resources I have. And I think it has, so far, it's turned out really cool. And it all starts with me erasing that graph. The whole grid method out the window. Yep, it's happening. And that's what the sketch looked like. There's a Shroud of Turin reference, and then that's what the painting looked like. Okay, it's a little scary. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot to work on, but of course, this is just the beginning. I had originally erased that graph because suddenly this thought came to my mind. I'm like, you know what? This is an AI generated version of, or I guess rendering of the Shroud of Turin, which there's a lot of cool history in that. So I'm like, it needs to be real. It's got to be real. There's got to be a little bit of realism there, right? And I do think there's some accuracy there. There's a lot of studies that have gone on with the Shroud of Turin. A lot of people have thrown the world in all sorts of crazy upheaval. And I'm not saying and I'm not going to claim that that's exactly what Christ looks like, right? I'm not going to claim anything like that. Maybe there's something I don't know. And if there isn't something I know, then I'd love if you guys would just comment. Just let me know. I'm always trying to learn. And that's kind of what this channel is about. I want this to be an environment of learning. But with the evidence I have heard about, this is what I do know. And I might butcher some of it, so please, be nice to me in the comments, but I'm just going to share it. Essentially, a knight back in the day, good old medieval days, went on an expedition, a whole entire holy mission, and he found the Shroud of Turin, which is essentially the cloth that would have been placed over the body of, said person, right, which was who we assume to be Jesus Christ. And there's a lot of evidence going into how Jesus Christ is a true figure. There's so much written about him in history. It's like, how could he not be a real person, right? So, that's out of the debate. This is what we know, and this is the evidence. Real quick, I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of some idea of what I'm doing. I'm just adding the shadows, also the highlights, trying to get the black and white image to work the very best I can get it. Just kind of to get things feeling comfortable. And obviously, this is just the beginning. A lot changes here. If you think I've messed this up in any way, again, comment. And this is a opportunity to educate each other. Obviously, I'm not the perfect artist, so I know that some of you guys might have some awesome insight. When things start to change a little bit in the painting, I kind of just felt like something was off. It wasn't quite looking like the Shroud of Turin reference picture. I'm like, okay, I'm drawing away from the main idea, the whole purpose of this in the first place. And so I went back and I made some adjustments. And warning, it's a little scary. I'm not going to lie. It's a little scary at first, but we fix it. And I think it turns out really, really cool once we get into the next process. So bear with me. It gets better. Real quick before I move on to anything else and kind of explaining the Shroud of Turin, I want to just say that the picture that I just showed right here is an AI generated image of the actual Shroud of Turin. So the actual Shroud of Turin looks like this. Obviously, the face looks different. The body looks a little different as it is probably veiled over the body, kind of changing the image and distorting the image, if that makes any sense. So anyways, I don't know exactly all the science that goes into it, but they were able to have AI generate what this body might have looked like, and that is the picture right here that it thinks it would look like. And I don't know, when I saw that, to me, it struck me. I was like, that makes sense. It looks like Christ. It looks like this image I've always imagined Christ to have. And as I started painting, the thoughts kind of start flooding into my brain that this is what he would look like. That I'm adding the smile, I'm adding the kindness in the eyes, right? It just felt right. And I don't know if you guys feel that way. Maybe I'm totally exaggerating my feelings, but I don't know, it just felt good. So, anyways, on to the video. This is when I start to glaze it with a little bit of Azo Gold. It's from the brand Golden. Link might be in the description, so you could get yourself some today in the liquid form. Best paint I've ever used. Anyways, gonna get right back into it. Also real quick, also before I jump into anything else and get distracted, I'll be throwing some iridescent, it's called, what is it called? Oh my gosh. It's that stuff right there. Yeah, it's called Interference Gold. That's what it's called, from the brand Golden. Okay, anyways, the Shroud of Turin. Let's get back into that. Oh my gosh, I'm so distracted. So what the evidence is that we have on the Shroud of Turin. So essentially there is an imprint on the Shroud of Turin, kind of like a photo negative. So we all know how pictures are taken. When you take a picture, click, there's enough light and the light passes through the lens and it creates this image onto, onto the digital camera, or back in the day onto film. And that's kind of exactly how it works. There is a photo negative basically of the body that was under the shroud. So why is that so crazy? Well, it's because dead bodies don't give off light. Let's think about that for a little. And so really quick, this knight finds the Shroud of Turin, delivers it to the priest or pope or whoever it was, and now we have it kind of floating around in circulation. Okay, back into some instruction. I'm going to be adding in some Utrecht titanium white, mixing it with some zinc white. Just zinc white's a little bit more see-through. It's from the brand Golden. Again, probably in the description. If you want any of these paints, I'm going to make sure I can try and get them in. Maybe not now, but sometime in the future, we'll see. But if you look down there and they're there, then perfect. So using zinc white to get some of the transparent stuff so I'm not losing detail, and using titanium white to get some of the thicker, the more further forward parts of the face, so that makes sense. So the nose, the cheekbones, things like that, things that I want to look 3D. Anyways, back into it. So this priest or knight, this knight delivers the Shroud of Turin to a priest or a pope or someone like that, and it's been floating around, and there's been a lot of debate on it, and the debate has been, is this even real? And so we've run a lot of tests. There's been so many tests, studies, everything like that. And here's the hard part. They haven't really been able to find out from what time period it is from. And that's why we believe that maybe it's not real. But again, how would it be done? Well, of course, someone must have shined some sort of light, made some giant camera machine or something to transpose this image onto the cloth. And probably fairly recently. And so, well, they ran some studies. There would have to be a lot of light. And they rented out, I think it was the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas. And they got the same kind of cloth, everything like that. And basically they used so much power trying to push it through into this material that it basically knocked out the whole entire power in this power grid. And when they got the cloth and they looked at it, they're like, oh my gosh, there's basically nothing on here. There's like very light difference, but nowhere near what the Shroud of Turin has. So, okay, so we can't recreate it. This must be some extraterrestrial being or something like that if it is fake. But as to what we know, this defies all science. Like this is insane. So the body would have had to give off so much light at some point to create a photo negative into this cloth. Well, sounds a lot like the resurrection, doesn't it? Anyways, further studies, they look at all these different, the marks, like the blood marks and the wounds all over the cloth, because you can see it. And they're very strategically placed all over the place. Places like even some random stuff like on the nose. There's nothing written on that he maybe broke his nose, but some of the evidence might suggest that as he was carrying the cross, maybe he fell over onto his face and broke his nose, things like that. You can see the blood dripping in the original Shroud of Turin from the forehead, from probably the crown of thorns. Marks all over, lashings all over this body. Has experienced all sorts of organ and kidney failures, things like that, which would make sense if you're hanging on the cross that long and just bleeding and the oxygen is not getting through well enough and the blood's not flowing properly. It just makes sense, right? So here we are with this cloth, and it's thrown the whole entire scientific world into this crazy debate. Like scientists who are atheists are like, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to think. And people are still trying to make excuses, obviously, because, the hard-hearted cannot come to know the truth. And I'm not saying that I don't know. I'm kind of leaning more towards the idea that this is the Shroud of Turin that was shrouded over the body of Christ. A lot of people really don't believe that Christ was even killed by the Romans, believe it or not. A lot of people don't believe he was crucified, but this would change everything and prove that, yes, he did. He did suffer and die for us, and I think that's very special. Okay, now I've gotten all the whites in. I'm going in for the darks, right? You cannot have lights work properly without the shadows. And you're going to see it changes the whole entire bone structure. It's kind of cool to watch this transformation. So you'll see I'm working in the shadows here, trying to create shape where I've lost shape, if that makes sense. And I think it's looking really cool. Kind of see how that's coming together. Eventually I start losing some detail and I have to redo it. But that's just part of the process, as it always goes. But yeah, isn't that kind of cool, guys? The Shroud of Turin, go check it out yourself. There's a lot of studies on it. Studies I haven't even been able to look at, but I'm sure there's a lot more to read and study. Here it is. I feel very touched, and I want to talk to you guys about this. As I've been painting, no joke, I've felt different. Every single day that I paint Christ, I feel so different. I feel so grateful. I feel so empowered. And that's a weird feeling to feel. It's like, I feel that usually when I read the scriptures. I feel that feeling when I'm going through a hard thing and just having to put all of my trust in God. But I've just been happy. I've been feeling edified. I've been feeling strengthened as I've been painting him. And hopefully this inspires you to want to paint Christ, because I think it is an experience that we can all share. And even I've had other experiences where as I've been painting him, I've kind of been overwhelmed with the Spirit and that feeling that's just lasted. It's like this tingling feeling in my head that lasted for 15 minutes. This isn't just shivers. It's like the shivers that stay, and that's kind of weird, right? And it sat there, and the thoughts and the impressions were flowing into my mind. And I felt that in that moment I was called to do what? Well, to share my talents. And I've just been very inspired. I think this painting will be very impactful, and I hope to sell it soon. There you guys go. That is part one of the whole entire process. There's a lot more to do, and believe me, I'm trying to do this like the masters, layer by layer, until it is just downright the best I can get it. And obviously, I've got a long ways to go, right? You guys might see the eyes still have a little bit more. There's different aspects, right? You might have spotted something yourself, and if you did, this is a process, so please leave a comment so I can perfect it. I might even give you a little shout out while I'm at it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this was informative, and I'll see you in the next video.